Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your life is perfect. A loving husband, a warm home, a happy life. But deep down, hidden beneath it all, there's a void you can't quite name. You don't acknowledge it, you don't even think about it. But one day, that void finds you, and everything you thought was safe comes crashing down. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old, a wife, and a mother of 2. My husband, Ethan, has always been a good man, reliable, caring, and steady. But sometimes, even when everything seems right, your heart whispers for something else. It was an ordinary day, or so I thought. I was at the grocery store picking up a few things for dinner when a familiar voice stopped me in my tracks. "Sarah, is that you?" I turned around and there he was, Ryan, my childhood love. The warmth in his eyes was still there, as if no time had passed. The years had softened his face, but that smile, the one I used to dream about, was exactly the same. He suggested grabbing a coffee, and I couldn't say no. Just one coffee. What harm could it do? But sitting across from him, hearing his laugh again, feeling his eyes on me, I felt something stir inside me. Memories, feelings, pieces of myself I thought I'd left behind. When he said, "Let's do this again sometime," I couldn't stop myself from smiling. My heart raced, and for the first time in years, I felt a spark. That day was just the beginning. I started making excuses to see him again. Coffee turned into lunches, then long conversations in the park. "He's just a friend," I kept telling myself. But the truth was, Ryan awakened a part of me I thought was long gone. I didn't tell Ethan. I couldn't. Sharing this secret with him would destroy the fragile thrill I felt. Ryan gave me something Ethan couldn't, a sense of freedom, a glimpse of the carefree girl I used to be. For a few hours, I could escape the monotony of my life and feel alive again. Everything changed that night. Ethan and I got into a fight, over something small at first, but it quickly escalated. He yelled things I'd never heard before, frustration and anger pouring out of him. "Sarah, I do everything for you. Why do you feel so distant?" he shouted. "Because you don't see me anymore, Ethan," I screamed back. And then it happened. He raised his hand and slapped me across the face. For a moment, there was only silence. The sting on my cheek wasn't as painful as the crack I felt in my heart. I couldn't stay in that house another second. I grabbed my coat and walked out into the night. I didn't know where I was going, but my feet carried me to Ryan's apartment. When he opened the door and saw the mark on my face, his eyes filled with concern. "Sarah, what happened?" he asked softly. I just need some peace," I said, tears slipping down my face. Ryan pulled me inside, his hands steadying me, his voice soothing. He held my hands, brushed my hair away from my face, and whispered, "You don't deserve this, Sarah." That moment, something inside me broke, and something else ignited. His touch was warm, comforting, but it awakened something darker, a hunger for revenge, for release. When his lips met mine, I didn't stop him. Anger, grief, passion, they all blurred together. His kiss was firm, unyielding, and I let it consume me. That night, I completely lost control. Ryan pulled me into his arms with a tenderness that masked an intensity underneath. My heart pounded as everything around us faded away. There was only him, only this. His hands slid to my face, his touch tracing the mark Ethan had left on my cheek, then moving to my hair. "You don't deserve this," he whispered again, his voice soft but laced with unspoken emotion. When his lips met mine, it wasn't just a kiss. It was a collision of years of longing, grief, and unspoken feelings. His mouth moved with a certainty that disarmed me, his hands holding me as if I might slip away. My breaths were ragged, mixing with his, as we surrendered to something forbidden and unstoppable. He kissed my neck, and I felt a fire inside me, part revenge, part release. This wasn't just comfort. this was an explosion. Every touch, every moment, carried years of unspoken desire and bottled frustration. As he led me to the bedroom, our movements were hurried yet deliberate, as if we knew this moment was fleeting. His hands explored the curves of my body with an intensity that made my skin burn, a mix of tenderness and wild hunger. My head spun, my senses overwhelmed, but I didn't care. I wanted it, all of it. This wasn't about love. It was about losing myself completely. That night, I gave in to the storm within me, and in doing so, I knew I had crossed a line I could never uncross. When morning came, I lay awake while Ryan slept beside me. I stared at the ceiling, the weight of what I'd done pressing down on me. What had happened wasn't love. It was an escape, a moment of rebellion, a response to the pain and anger that had been festering inside me. It was passionate, raw, and unforgettable. But it was also a betrayal, not just of Ethan, but of myself. I knew things would never be the same. Ethan and I could never go back to what we were. And as for Ryan, he wasn't my salvation. He was my undoing. That night had changed everything. But sometimes, change doesn't heal wounds. It only makes them deeper.